Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Previously, we had a delightful diversion wherein we played as Mikotoba, well, Professor Mikotoba, I mean, as he assisted Sholmes, his old partner from so many years ago, in solving one last little mystery. Where in the world was Seiichiro Jigoku? Turns out that guy was trying to escape from notice from the law. He's trying to smuggle himself out of the town, but we caught him just in time, so now we're having one last little rest before the trial resumes tomorrow. And to that end, let's speak to Herlock Sholmes and take a one last good look around this place. Might be new dialogue everywhere. If I've remembered correctly, this large and imposing lump of iron is called a typewriter. To think that every single one of the adventures of Herlock Sholmes blossomed from this very machine. Oh, it's such a dreamy thought. I actually had a go on it the other day. The metal bars that move when you hit the keys got all tangled up somehow, and that made Iris angry. Mr. Naruhodo, you're ruining my dreamy thoughts. Please don't do that again. Now I've made Susato-san angry as well. Well, don't do that. Anything about the bullet holes in the wall? No? How about the Stradivarius? If it really is even a Stradivarius, which I kind of doubt. This is Mr. Sholmes' famous violin. The one he found being sold for a song at a pawnbrokery. What's it called again? A shodi something? Oh yes, this wonderful instrument features in the adventures of Herlock Sholmes. It's a world-famous Stradivarius. Strata what? Stradivarius, Mr. Naruhodo. Stragivore. Are you even trying now? We'll come back to this another time, I think. Okay, that's enough reminiscing. Mr. Sholmes, what are you doing? I should have looked at the food. Surely it's abundantly clear that I wasn't brooding over Mikotoba's refusal to share his pheasant with me. Nevertheless, I felt the need to withdraw from the social circle for a while and look on with hungry eyes. Sorry, Hurley, but I cooked that pheasant especially for Susie's daddy. Even though I've played the role of father to you for far longer. Mr. Sholmes, could I discuss some things with you? Certainly, my dear fellow. I find myself quite in the mood for a spell of conversation. No doubt you're hungry to learn more of my deep love of game. I could probably contain my curiosity on that one. You needn't look at me in that fashion. In what fashion? It seems that before we discuss the pheasant, we have some rather unpheasant matters to discuss. That is a Pokemon, sir. Okay, hold on, let me actually look at that bird. Roast beef, kipper, stew, steak and kidney pie, Yorkshire pudding. It all looks mouth-wateringly good. Indeed it does. And if it were accompanied by even a morsel of pheasant, it would be perfection. You're still on that? Oh, it really does look like a feast for celebrating a victory in court. Or indeed for drowning one's sorrows after defeat. I hope you weren't referring to the trial tomorrow, Mr. Sholmes. He's clearly still in mourning over the pheasant at the moment. Alright. Let's have a chat. Yeah, what was that telegram? So, what was in the telegram you received back from Japan then? Ah, this. I think my lucky stars had arrived in time. Record found as indicated, duplicate follows. K. Asogi, A. Shin, T. Gregson, J. Wilson. What? Those 4 names. We've come across that exact same list before. They came up in that unforgettable case last spring. What appeared to be a simple case of aggravated murder turned out to be masking monumental intrigue. A plot that involved the sale of British governmental secrets to foreign states. In exposing the means by which those secrets were being leaked, we deciphered the fragment of a message. K. Osogi, A. Shin, T. Gregson, J. Wilson. But we didn't find the names out until the case was over, and we never did get to the bottom of what they meant. All we knew was that the information had been sent by somebody in the British government to somebody in Japan. So why are the names coming up again now? Yes, where did the sender of your telegram discover them, Mr. Sholmes? I have here the message I had wired yesterday. Allow me to read it to you. Enter Judge Shigoku's office undetected and investigate telegram records. Expect to find communication from Britain dated 1 year ago. List of 4 names, need by tomorrow. Naruhodo. I sent it to a detective I know who specializes in clandestine missions of this nature. You asked Inspector Hosonaga to undertake such an onerous task for you? Yeah! And in my name? I wonder what guise he opted for this time. My dear fellows, it was a matter of great urgency, you understand. Anyway, the list of names was found in Seishiro's office, as Sholmes predicted. So you mean that mysterious collection of names that was sent from Britain to Japan was... It was sent to Judge Shigoku. He was the intended recipient. I don't believe it. But that doesn't answer the question of what the list of names actually signifies. I did formulate a hypothesis about that. But without a shred of evidence, I couldn't possibly have shared it. Mr. Sholmes looks deadly serious for once. Huh. Let's look at that. Well, thanks, Hosonaga. You pulled through one last time. Haha, what a bro. Huh. It's like they're paired in teams of 2. Kazuma relating to Asa in some way, Gregson relating to Wilson in some way. John Wilson. But I can't recall John Wilson ever having anything to do with Gregson. That tragedy we had to go through on the SS Burya, it was all for nothing. Kazuma wasn't dead at all. We were completely taken in by the lie you told us. Your great detective's lie. I took no pleasure in deceiving you. However, at the time, all that concerned me was preventing the young man's study tour from taking place, whatever the cost. What? I capitalized on the events that transpired to see he was sent back to Japan. His remains, you mean? Precisely, Miss Usato. And then I made sure that somebody else was sent to Britain in his stead. Oh my, you mean... The arrangement between our 2 countries was already in place. one university student lawyer, and one judicial assistant to be accommodated on a study tour. In other words, by arranging for someone else to fill the place originally intended for Mr. Asogi. I would successfully prevent the man from arriving on our shores for several years at least. Wait, do you mean to say that it was all in aid of stopping Kazuma coming to Britain? That's why you... Think back, Mr. Naruhodo. Was there not somebody who quite casually urged you to continue on the voyage to England? The terms of the study tour were negotiated by the Department of Justice in both Great Britain and Japan. In the light of Mr. Asogi's unfortunate death, I'm afraid the study tour can no longer go ahead. My dear fellows, the majority of problems have an extremely simple solution, you know. All you require is one lawyer, and the study tour can continue, surely. But there is no one else with the necessary qualifications, Mr. Sholmes. We know of no other lawyer. The voyage to London still promises a good month of time. Ample opportunity, I would say, to find yourselves another suitable lawyer. So, you manipulated me. I've often remarked on the extraordinary lengths to which friendship will drive a man. I was quite sure that you would rise to the challenge for your late friend. I don't believe it. But if it was all contrived... I mean, what happened was treated by the authorities as murder. A woman was mistakenly arrested as the perpetrator. What do you suppose became of her? Naturally, I didn't allow the misapprehension to have any serious repercussions. I subsequently explained everything and assisted the unfortunate soul in finding the foreign refuge she sought. Oh, well, how about that? I seem to remember Miss Usato and I had some rather strong words for her. Well, she was certainly not devoid of all guilt. She deserved every word, I'm sure. I wonder if she made it to America then. I'm afraid I simply cannot comprehend it. Why would you go to such lengths, Mr. Sholmes? Why were you so determined to stop Kazuma-sama from reaching Britain? The truth is, 12 months ago, there was already a very tangible omen of the impending tragedy, you see. Oh. An omen that, at this very moment in time, is close at hand. An omen of all these tragic events that already existed a year ago is close at hand? We need to find out exactly what Mr. Sholmes knows. Maybe I can ask him more about this? Mr. Sholmes, would you mind looking at this? This is hardly the time, Mr. Naruhodo, as I'm sure you will appreciate. Oh, no, of course not. My attention is entirely drawn to one single matter now, the pheasant. Anyone would think you haven't eaten in weeks. Pheasant or the present? There was no room for doubt with your instructions in this telegram, Mr. Sholmes. You were very clear that it was Judge Jigoku's office that should be searched, so... You obviously knew that's where the list of names would be found. K. Asogi, A. Shin, T. Gregson, J. Wilson. But we only learned of those 4 names just over 6 months ago now. And only because they appeared as part of the top-secret government communications that were leaked. That's true, yes, but at the time you were unaware of the background. You see, those 4 names were wired to Japan. Around 6 months before that, Approximately this time last year, in fact, when you were both still in Japan. It really would be hypocrisy on my part to reprove others for intercepting state secrets. Wait. Okay, wait, so... could this be... a hit list? A. Shin, J. Wilson, and T. Gregson are all dead people. They were killed. But... by very different people for very different reasons, I must say. After all, A. Shin was the person who killed Wilson in the first place. If this is a hit list, those hits were carried out by some master manipulator. It really would be hypocrisy on my part to reprove others for intercepting state secrets. Because after all, I'm perpetually eavesdropping on communications between the British and Japanese governments. You're perpetually doing what? How? Never mind the details, but you should know. No secret is safe from Herlock Sholmes when he has designs on knowing it. Oh my, Mr. Sholmes, what a fabulous line. Now, 1 month after that list of 4 names was wired to the recipient Jigoku in Japan, Dr. John H. Wilson was murdered. As soon as I learned of the incident, a hypothesis rapidly took shape in my mind. As it turned out, I was partly correct, and partly mistaken. Nevertheless, it was the beginning of all the tragic events that were to follow. Mr. Sholmes, please, tell us all you know. Tell us about these 4 names and the tragedy to which they're all somehow connected. As I said, when I learned of Dr. Wilson's murder in Japan, my mind immediately turned to those 4 names, because, you see, there was someone else on the list who I believed to be recently deceased. What? Who? A. Shin, as it was transcribed in Japanese script. In actual fact, Miss Asa Shin. That was a familiar name to me. She was a professional killer, well known among London's unsavory classes. Oh, I see. But she had completely vanished from existence several months before Wilson's murder. So I came to the logical conclusion that she had herself been killed. And accordingly, I became fearful for the lives of the remaining 2 persons on the list. Oh, K. Asogi and T. Gregson. Owing to our proximity, I decided to take measures to protect Gregson myself. But I determined it would be safest if Ryunosuke were to stay away from Britain. Ah, so that's why you went to such lengths to prevent his study tour from going ahead. Exactly. So, you already knew who Kazuma-sama was, Mr. Sholmes? Oh yes, Sholmes and I have exchanged correspondence for years. I had recounted many tales about Asogi to him in my letters, and the news of Dr. Wilson's death, of course. So, Dr. Wilson is dead then? I didn't know. Oh, Iris. I know he wasn't my daddy, but still, that's very sad. I'm so sorry, Iris. We knew the significance of the name, obviously, but we just couldn't bring ourselves to tell you. No. But what you just told us, Mr. Sholmes, doesn't completely tie in with the facts. There's one big hole in your hypothesis. A big hole, Mr. Naruhodo? Ah, yes. You mean about Asashin, I presume. Oh, of course. Exactly. She wasn't killed, was she? She was in Japan, posing as a visiting student under the assumed name of Giselle Brett. I'm glad you're keeping up, my dear fellow, but I only became aware of that fact 2 days ago in the foyer of the Great Waterloo Hotel. Oh! And upon hearing that startling revelation, the hypothesis that I'd formed surrounding those 4 names was completely turned to topsy. What? Topsy? What do you mean when you say your hypothesis was turned topsy, Mr. Sholmes? I had believed all 4 names on the list to be the names of victims. However, I was mistaken. Very much so, Asashin was a killer. So this telegram is a list of both victims and killers, is it? Okay. Let's take a look-see again. So if they line up, well, Asashin, the killer, did kill the victim, Jay Wilson, and oriented the same way, Kazuma Asogi, has a dubious story, but is quite involved in this matter of the death of Gregson. Oh my. Indeed, it would seem that Miss Shin was dispatched from Britain for the sole intention of dispatching Dr. Wilson, her visiting student status being merely a front. Oh. Which would of course explain why no motive could be determined for her actions. So the real reason Dr. Wilson was killed by Asashin is because he was the target of an assassination. And, forearmed with that knowledge, fresh consideration of this telegram puts the list in a very different perspective. What do you mean? Well, does it not strike you? There is another among the 4, who subsequently became a visiting student. Wait, you mean... My god, it is the same cover story. But of course, a name you know only too well. You mean Kazuma? Oh! He did say in court earlier today. Yes, on the 31st of October, I accompanied Inspector Gregson to Dunkirk in order to carry out a mission. And the mission was the assassination of the Mark. Young Mr. Asogi accepted that mission a year ago now. Surely not. In conclusion, this document is a contract of sorts. An international agreement, one might say, detailing an assassin exchange. Oh. An assassin exchange? How could Kazuma possibly have got involved in something like that? Let's assume that we have 2 parties, each wishing to dispose of a distinct individual. Those 2 parties then make a contract to swap their respective assassination targets. There would then be an assassin exchange. So, to begin with, the British assassin is dispatched as a visiting student to Japan, where she kills her target. And then the Japanese assassin is dispatched as a visiting student to Britain in order to eliminate his target. It certainly does sound like an exchange. But what on earth is the point? Don't forget, Naruhodo, that the British assassin at least escaped conviction, thanks to diplomatic immunity afforded by consular jurisdiction. Oh, yes. Such jurisdiction should be null and void under the terms of the new treaty between our 2 countries. So the fact that it was brought into play suggests intervention at the very highest levels. The highest levels. These murders were two sides of the same coin, linked not by a common motive but by contractual agreement. As such, they appeared utterly unrelated, yet in truth the assassins were complicit in one singular devilish scheme. That dissociation and the safeguard of diplomatic immunity were, I believe, the motivation behind this plot. But wait a minute, Sholmes. If this telegram really is describing the exchange of assassins as you're suggesting, it would mean that the Japanese killer's target was never Seisho Jigoku at all. It would mean that Soki's target was actually Inspector Gregson. What? Kazuma was here for Gregson. So Judge Goku wasn't actually the mark. Yes, that's exactly what that would mean. I hold myself personally responsible for failing to keep the inspector safe. Mr. Sholmes. I told him of my fears and implored him to seek a transfer to an overseas position. Obviously, with the young pickpocket in tow. Yes, Gina. Come to think of it, Inspector Gregson did mention that to us at the Great Exhibition. That he'd be transferring to the Paris police and taking Gina with him. But without informing me, he engaged in one last assignment, it seems. And, sadly, it turned out to be his very last. This is too much to take in. All right, everyone. That's quite enough of all that serious talk for one day. Isn't it, Hurley? I mean, look at the time. Quite right, Iris. We must conclude our preparations for tomorrow. What preparations? Well, I think I shall make my way back to my hotel room now. This has certainly been a night to remember. It is a little bit sad, though. I mean, I like the idea of you being my daddy. Because then Susie would have been my big sister. I'm sorry, Iris. I know, Iris. I was thinking quite the same thing. Were you? But if somebody like me would be worthy, I would be delighted to become your sister. What? Really? Oh, yes, without question. So, you'll teach me all the ways you know how to throw Runo to the floor. Yes, of course. It would be my pleasure. You didn't have to agree quite so readily. Oh, but wait a minute. If Susie's going to be my big sister, you could be my big brother if you want, Runo. Huh? I mean, yes, of course. If you'll have me, I'll gladly be your brother. Well done, Iris. We must always be mindful of feelings. I've raised you so well. Because being sensitive is your strong suit, naturally. Right, I'm going to work extra hard for tomorrow now, because it's for my big brother and sister. What is all this talk about preparing for tomorrow? Preparing what? You'll just have to wait and see. Oh. Good luck in court tomorrow. I'm expecting a sterling performance. I'll do my very best, of course. So the overnight break in the trial's proceedings became a crucial turning point, exposing new truths whilst posing new conundrums. That list of 4 names on the telegram in Judge Shigoku's office, and the extraordinary assassination plot in which my best friend had somehow become involved. I felt as though I had been plunged into an even greater darkness all of a sudden. But at the same time, I felt sure I would see the light again soon. Because I was lucky enough to have the most wonderful family in the world standing steadfastly behind me. Oh, well, ain't that sweet? To be continued. Right now. As always. Before we begin today, I have a brief announcement. As with the closed trial 10 years ago, some astonishing facts have come to light in these proceedings. The revelation that the well-known Reaper is actually an organization illegally executing its own brand of justice, and the discovery that a respected yard inspector was at its heart until he himself perished in an assassination plot. Well, I say to all members of the judiciary here present on this occasion, that we will stop at nothing to uncover the whole truth behind those disturbing findings. I am going to hold you to your word. Counsels, you will undertake this trial with the resolve to pursue the truth to the bitter end. Resolve, yes. That's my intention. My lord, if I may inquire. The defendant may speak. On what grounds is Kazuma Asogi permitted to continue in his role as prosecutor? He has admitted to colluding with the victim in a plot to assassinate an innocent man. He shouldn't be enjoying the privilege of freedom, let alone be leading the prosecution. I submitted a written petition to Lord Strongheart, requesting that judgment of my transgressions be delayed by 1 day. You did what? In today's proceedings, I intend to expose everything. My whole life for the last 10 years has all been leading up to this 1 day. Kazuma. Whatever the outcome of this trial, I give my word that I will accept whatever punishment is deemed appropriate, however severe. And I suggest you prepare yourself for the same, Reaper. Kazuma is bristling with hostility today. I get the distinct impression we're heading into very dangerous territory. Is that really even Kazuma-sama standing before us? As an extreme exception to normal practices, I have granted this prosecutor's request. The defense finds this acceptable, I presume. Yes, my lord. In that case, in the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session again. We resume the closed hearing of Barak van Zieks. The defense is ready, my lord. The prosecution is more than ready. Very well then, this preamble has taken long enough. Prosecutor Asogi, begin. As you wish, my lord. The prosecution calls the first witness to the stand. Bring Seishiro Jigoku into the courtroom. At last, then, we've reached the final battle. He's putting literally everything on the line now in order to get to the truth. Come on, Ryunosuke. It's time for that steely resolve, because this is going to test it to the limit. Witness, state your name and occupation for the court. Huh. So it was you who issued this, was it? Your subpoena. It did what was necessary. Well, look what the young man has become. I didn't think I'd see the day when you take that tone with me, I must say. The witness will ensure his responses are pertinent to the questions asked. My name is Seishiro Jigoku, a Supreme Court judge from the Empire of Japan. 16 years ago, this man came to London as a visiting student. 6 years later, he returned to Japan. As well as presiding over the Supreme Court, he is also currently Japan's Minister of Foreign Affairs. I am, of course, fully aware of Mr. Jigoku and his preeminent roles. I invited him personally to the International Forensic Science Symposium as a representative of his country. I hear he has also played a key role in the conclusion of the Anglo-Japanese Treaty of Friendship and Navigation. It was a great honor to be involved in the negotiations. I put my all into that treaty.
Judge Jigoku, I must ask.
Well, I never. Fancy the young murdering student turning up here, of all places.
You acquitted me yourself. And now I'm practicing defense lawyer.
Yes, and full of self-importance like your friend across the courtroom, I see.
You came here to London by invitation to the International Forensic Science Symposium. But then, without informing anyone of your plans, you took flight to France.
Took flight? I'd have to object to that turn of phrase.
Explain yourself. What exactly were the circumstances?
Well, I was somewhat expecting this, and I'm sorry to say, I decline to comment.
What?
Leaving the country prematurely when I was an invited guest may be questionable etiquette, but my decision is unrelated to this case. I can't be bound to testify. Unrelated, you say? I appreciate that a respected police inspector has been killed, for which I offer my condolences. However, being an alien, I'd obviously never met the man, nor do I know the first thing about him. As such, I'm in no position to testify. It's as simple as that.
So you would run from all this?
I beg your pardon?
This case is more far-reaching than the murder of Inspector Gregson. It has ties to another murder, a case that was tried in Japan almost a year ago now.
A year ago in Japan? The murder of Dr. John H. Wilson, you mean?
That's right. And you, Judge Jigoku, are at the heart of both cases. The defense has evidence to prove it.
Well, Ryunosuke, I see from the look in your eyes that you're resolved to carry this through to the very end, too. Let's see your evidence, then. What proof do you have that Seishiro Jigoku was involved in this case?
Take that!
This is a telegram detailing the communications sent between Britain and Japan approximately 1 year ago. The communication contained 4 names: K. Asogi, A. Shin, T. Gregson, and J. Wilson.
You little... Where did you get that?
In Tokyo. From your office, Judge Jigoku.
What? How on earth did you...
What's this all about? Why is my name on that list? This list of 4 names follows a certain pattern. T. Gregson and J. Wilson are the names of victims. K. Asogi and A. Shin are the names of assassins. No. A year ago in Tokyo, Dr. John H. Wilson's life was taken in a Western-style restaurant in the capital. The culprit was found to be a visiting student who went by the name of Giselle Brett. but her real name was Asa Shin, a professional killer sent on a mission to kill from Great Britain. A. Shin and her victim, J. Wilson. And the murder that just took place here in London was the counterpart to that crime. An assassin sent from Japan, also a visiting student, Kazuma Asogi, whose victim was the British police inspector Tobias Gregson. K. Asogi and T. Gregson. One assassin from each country to kill a target residing in the other.
What exactly is the defense suggesting?
These two cases of murder, one that took place in Britain and one in Japan, were masterminded by a pair of individuals from each country as a form of assassin exchange. And the telegram the defense has acquired is proof of this international contract to kill.
What? What?
Well, that shocked him. The telegram was found in your office, Judge Shigoku. In other words, the mastermind in Japan was you.
Judge Shigoku, what's this all about?
And you, Kazuma, you lied. During yesterday's proceedings, you acknowledged that you'd accepted the assassination mission. But the mark wasn't Judge Shigoku at all. It was T. Gregson, Detective Inspector of Scotland Yard, as shown by the name on the killing contract.
Very impressive, Ryunosuke.
But actually, I didn't lie. The name of the target I was ordered to kill never passed my lips yesterday. The idea that Seishiro Chigoku was the mark came entirely from you. You deliberately avoided saying a name?
The defense claims these 4 names indicate some sort of international assassin exchange. I'm sure I speak for all present when I say that the very idea seems utterly absurd. Well, Mr. Chigoku, what do you have to say for yourself?
His silence only goes to prove his guilt. There's another very important point that this new development brings to light. There's now a distinct possibility that the scene of Inspector Gregson's actual murder was in the witness's cabin aboard the SS Grouse. Judge Shigoku, you have to testify now. To refuse would put you in contempt of court.
There's no need for quite such a vicious stare, young man. Very well then, as a parting gift to you all, I'll tell you everything I know. It seems this Japanese gentleman has information that the court must hear about the alleged assassin exchange and the events of the night on the 31st of October. Present your formal testimony now. As you wish, my lord.
This will be good. Oh, we're cross-examining the judge. Oh, well. Now, I know there was a little bit of this in the investigations games. There were 2 judges we cross-examined in those, but no, this is formal, classic Ace Attorney formula cross-examination right here. Wow.
It's true that Kazuma Asogi was assigned the assassination mission 1 year ago now. The target was Inspector T. Gregson. That was a condition of the British study tour. However, in the end, something happened that meant the young man was unable to carry out his mission. On the evening in question, a member of the crew was on duty outside my cabin at all times. If there'd been a shot fired, the crewman would have heard it,
So clearly I can't be involved.
So you admit it then, as this communication suggests. There really was an assassin exchange arrangement between Britain and Japan.
A political endeavor on the highest levels. Not something I can discuss here.
To use such a worthy practice as foreign study to coerce somebody to commit murder. It's the most appalling thing I've ever heard.
Appalling? Well, it's easy to judge.
Pardon?
Asogi had a reason for taking his sword to that British inspector, you know.
What?
Which is why he accepted the mission in the first place. Isn't that right, Counsel?
Gregson was the one who was pretty much the first domino to fall that resulted in Genshin Asogi's death, so yeah, I guess so. Kazuma-sama? Judge Shigoku, if you are the mastermind behind this operation in Japan, then tell the court the identity of your counterpart in Britain.
I'm not obligated to divulge that information.
As I said yesterday, I've killed nobody. I freely admit that I accepted the mission, but on the night the plan was to be executed, I backed out. In short, this assassin exchange that the defense has identified is unrelated to the events of this case.
The crucial point is this. Your police inspector can't have perished aboard that steamship in Dunkirk. Because if he'd been shot in the cabin, it's inconceivable that a member of the crew wouldn't have heard it.
That's right. Gregson was killed after returning to London, in the room on Fresno Street. And the perpetrator of the crime was the Reaper, Barak van Zieks. The prosecution's accusation remains unchanged.
To think that a seemingly innocent foreign exchange program was a facade for such Machiavellian dealings. Clearly it's a plot only a government minister and high-ranking judge such as the witness could hope to execute.
Oh, my throat.
Well, I seem to recall that was someone on the British side who controlled everything. Be that as it may, it is not the place of this court to pursue this villainous assassin exchange plot. We are concerned only with the tangible events pertaining to the murder of Inspector Gregson. Is the defense clear on that point, Counsel?
Yes, my lord. I'll keep that in mind as I cross-examine the witness. Alright, well, you know the drill. 10 minutes out from 1 hour, but I can't do a full pressing and cross-examination and everything, but in addition, my throat kind of hurts, and I have discovered I'm quite dehydrated. My lips are very, very chapped. I need to go drink some water. I've ran out. So... yeah... it's looking pretty obvious. Like, I've known it from the very, very start. Strongheart's at the center of all this. He's right there with Jigoku in the eye of the storm. Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, but it's gonna be a long, convoluted, twisting road to get to there. Oh, it feels so strange to be at this point. Finally, this grand mystery that began with pretty much like the tail end of the very first case in the first Great Ace Attorney game, where ever since Kazuma said that he had a mission to accomplish in Japan, in Britain, I mean,
At long last, the mystery is unraveling, bit by bit, thread by thread. Oh, it feels good. Oh. It also feels good that, yeah, I'm pretty dang sure there's not going to be any more investigation phases unless Sholmes and Mikotoba have one last surprise for us, but I kind of doubt that. They were going somewhere to prepare for something, but honestly, it's probably just a victory celebration. Oh, and to say nothing of Ryunosuke's choice in either staying in Britain or going back to Japan. Oh, the ending of this game is going to be so powerful in so many different ways. Oh gods, I hope this game sticks to the landing. Anyway, I'm Zephyr the Jester. This has been more of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll catch you next time. So until then, please take care.